It is late night Lori from Lori's Little Bit of Craftin, coming to you on what was supposed to be Tuesday. Let me get my, whoops, sorry about that. Let me get my device up here. I think we're at the 24th now. It was supposed to be the 23rd at like 11:59 p.m. here in Wisconsin. Welcome. I am trying to get my other devices set up here. So bear with me. I'm running a little late tonight. I have been in the zone cleaning, organizing, which has been kind of fun actually. So I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. And let's just get this up here, make sure I've got some sound going on. I do. All right. So I didn't really have a full idea of what I wanted to do, but I thought it would be fun to work with these fun autumn things since we are technically into fall. So we've got the amber autumn and the autumn trees. I thought I love this full layer piece here. So we're just going to kind of play around with this a little bit. I pulled out the Gathering Together. Whoa! The Gathering Together DSP, which wasn't the DSP from this set. Let me put this back where this belongs so I don't lose it, because that would be my speed. Were you gone last night? No, I was here last night. I just actually made that video. Hello, Fifi, by the way. I released that video to go public maybe about an hour or so ago. So I was here. I wasn't sure I was actually going to make it tonight. I got so busy cleaning and I was actually having a good time organizing stuff. It doesn't show a whole lot, but my workplace here has some open space on it. It's kind of fun. I mean, it's filled right now because I got stuff going on, but you can see this little candle here. It looks like it might need a new battery, but I'm wondering if we can do something with that. And these papers, yeah, you must have missed me last night. It was probably like 11:45-ish. So you were cleaning after your Make It Monday? Yeah, that was actually a fun card. I enjoyed that. And that's the first time when I popped into your Make It Monday that I actually finished the card while we were doing it. Otherwise, I've usually just been kind of playing with the layout and that. But I pulled in the cardstock that goes with this because I thought it would be easier than running back and forth. So we've got Cajun Craze, the early espresso, crushed curry, and old olive. And I pulled pecan pie because I wasn't sure if that was part of it or not, but it's not, of course. So I'll have these close by. Maybe. Since I cleaned, it's kind of like, I don't know where everything is anymore. So I thought what I would do is try to make a little box. Hey, Juju. Oh, it's a late night for you, huh? You don't usually work this late, do you? So Fifi, you thought you were discombobbled during your live? I think it was fine. Your video stream, and I don't know if it was my signal because last night we were having some storms here, but there were some times that it was stalled. So yeah, it's hard when we're tired, isn't it? So let's just take a look here. I have an idea in mind, but of course, I didn't really plan ahead. So let's just see what I want to do. I'm going to take I think this one, and work with this a little bit. And I thought I would do a box. I thought I would do like an open layer on two sides, maybe the tree on a side. Um, and then use this and kind of make like an illuminarium sort of thing. So if we do this, let me just get my ruler. And we're looking, so this is 3 3/4. So if I do 4 1/4, 4 1/4, that's 8 1/2, right? So let's just play with this. Maybe I'll do old olive. Because if I wanted to, I have to kind of think out loud since we're not exactly sure what we're going to do. Yeah, Mama Juju, it's a very late night for you. Long day too. So were you working like at a normal start time and you've just been working like a double shift? So if we go, we'd have to do this. Let me cut this in half at 5 1/2. Well, Fifi, it's going to be a surprise. So let's, who knows? So if I do, I'm going to score this at 4. And I'm going to score it at 8. Actually, I could say I'm just scoring it a half. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. So let's score it at 4. Either way, that's a long day, even if you're working from home. When I was working at home, when I was working at the college, I actually think my days were longer because I would start first thing in the morning and then I would work, and then I would work well into the evening. They really got their money's worth out of me. All right, so before I go too much further, I am going to emboss this, and I'm going to emboss this one if I do this correctly, because then it'll be on two sides. So let's do that. Let's get out my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And if this doesn't work out, it's because I haven't planned ahead. Hopefully it'll be all right. So we're going to try to center this nicely. And then I'll try to lead with a corner so that I don't have that straight edge. Trying to buck the system with the rollers in this machine, right? But I also don't want lines. I don't want lines on my cardstock, so we'll do the best we can. I had to kind of lead with the straight edge, but it's going all right. Now we have all of these pieces here. I think I'm going to run this through a second time just so I don't have to fight with it. And my bottom plate's a little warped, so we'll run it through a second time right off the bat. Make sure it cuts all the way through. I think that looks pretty good. Now, I brought over my little embossing box. Yeah, I got a lot going on here. So much for cleaning, you know? All right, so I have this little box here that I use sometimes to roll out my extra pieces. It's an old paper pumpkin box. This brush is the old, I don't know if this was a Stampin' Up! One or if this was my mother's. But I just leave it in this box. I also have a second box that I have my Take Your Pick tool with the brush tip on it. Let's just try to get all these little pieces out. Usually I'll just use my little pokey tool, but when there are so many in here, sometimes this brush just works a little bit better. So now we still have some pieces in here. I may still have to pokey tool some of these out. Or fingernail them out. They might just work that way, who knows? Yeah, my stepdaughter could probably do these. She had her nails done and she's got the really pointy tip nails. I don't ever do fake fingernails. Not since I was in grade school and we used to use the trays of the pencil trays in our desks to put glue in and make fake fingernails that way. All right, so I think I got all of them out of that side. That's pretty. All right, let's do our second panel. And I kind of bent that one. All right, so if we go this way, we'll probably end up cutting part of this off because it's going to be too long, but that's all right. So I'm going to go here. Yeah, my fingernails are thin and they're pretty soft, so let me get this out of the way. And we'll move this back over. I would have done some of this stuff ahead of time, except when you don't really know what you're going to do, it's kind of hard. And this won't have to be exactly laid out like the other one, but I want it to be kind of close. I think I need to move it down just a little bit more here. I think that'll hopefully be good enough. There we go. And we're just gonna fight with the plates, I think. Except I see here that a couple of these pieces didn't come out. So I'm gonna get a couple of pieces here that I noticed didn't pop out. And I wanna make sure that those cut nicely on the next piece. All right, let's try this again. And I could use some washi tape, I suppose, but you know, what's the fun of being exact, right? All right, let's try this again. Oh, and I just saw your message here, Fifi. Yes, I do use tape to hold down my dies sometimes. Like I should probably now, just because my plate is warped. I think it doesn't want to cooperate with me. My other machine, my bottom plate, for whatever reason, has stayed nice and flat. This one got warped. I don't know why. Who knows? All right, good enough. Hopefully. All right. And I'm going to run this through a second time too, just because the other one didn't necessarily cut all the way through. So this is pretty intricate. Now, I did take a couple of minutes and I mounted my tree and I cut out the leafy parts for the stamped image. So we'll see how those look. Those have a lot of little pieces that should come out that didn't want to come out. So I may have to fight with those. We'll see. And I will probably have to pull this back out later, but we'll start with that. Let me get this paper moved over. We're not actually going to use this one, but whoops, I just put my scraps in my adhesive. All right. These are pretty. This is old Stampin' Up! Washi tape. It's really small. All right, let me get my little box back over here. I like to do this with the die still on it as much as I can because it protects the paper. Because these open spots are spaces that I'm not going to use anyway. And then it keeps me from accidentally ripping anything. And it looks like that might have gotten a little crooked anyway. No, it looks all right, I guess. Maybe it's just my eyes. All right. Sometimes I can flick them out. And then when I get so many scraps in the little box here, then I'll finally dump it in my little recycle bin. So I used to, in my crafting space, I just had like one of my old shipping boxes from Stampin' Up! And I put a grocery bag in it. And that's where I dumped all of my papers because our municipality recycles, or at least they say they do. And I finally bought myself a real blue bin for my recycled stuff. It looks nicer. It doesn't work any different, but it looks nicer. Some of these may not have cut through all the way after all. Maybe I should have run it through 3 times. Some of these might just stay in there. Yeah, when I was on the fire department, there were sometimes calls to the dump, the recycling center, and because they do it all there. And one of the calls, I didn't actually go on that one, but the guys were talking about afterwards that sure doesn't look like they recycle anything. It's like they were burning everything or something. So I'm always a skeptic. If they say they're recycling, they make us go through the motions, but I don't know that they're actually doing the recycling. So some of these pieces, ladies, may just stay in here. I figure if they're not falling out, they're just going to stay in for purposes of this project. If I do another one, I'll run it through another time, or run it through with some wax paper. I'll show you. I did that on my other one, the one that's got the leafy things. You covered your recycle box with book pages and, oh, yeah, I'm sure you filled that up, Juju. We create a lot of paper. And I really hadn't been separating mine until earlier this year. And I thought, because I was crafting so much in here that, when I was doing a live every day, I was in here every day making stuff, and I was just generating more scrap. So I thought, I should probably think about recycling. All right. I think I'm about done putzing with this piece. The other one worked a little bit better. Some of these just don't want to come out. And some of these are kind of taking a layer of the cardstock with them, so I don't want to take too much off and ruin it. And I don't want to rip any of these. All right, looks like I'm down to just a couple. Perseverance pays off sometimes. That one doesn't want to come out. That one will. These pieces should just know not to resist. Because I will fight with them long enough and eventually get them out. So cutting plate, dryer sheet. Yeah, the dryer sheet, I don't use dryer sheets, so I don't have them. But I do use wax paper, which usually works pretty good. The problem is these are not stuck in the die. They're just not quite cut all the way through because my plate was warped. Most of them came out pretty easily. But I think it's because of my warped plate. All right, so I think there's just this one little piece, and I don't think anybody's going to notice that one except me. All right, that's going to be good enough. All right, so now we have these two pieces. And then I am going to cut these two pieces because I think I'm just going to do some layers here. So we'll do 4 by 5 1/4. So let's just cut this 5 1/4 here. The shim is the die shim that comes. Oh, you were asking about how to layer it with the dryer sheet? Yeah. I use wool balls in my dryer, actually. And I try not to over dry my clothes, and then I don't have static. So I don't use dryer sheets just because I have such sensitive skin that I try to minimize the use of products that have chemicals that can affect my skin. All right, so we'll put this one on here, this one on here, this will go back. And then I'm going to get these out of the way because I don't think that might be kind of busy for a lid. We'll see. We're going to use early espresso, I think, to make a lid. All right. So we've got this at 4 inches. So we'll do this. I'll do the math in a minute. So we're going to go ahead and fold and burnish. And I just had an unwelcome mosquito that I managed to unalive. All right, and this piece I'm going to end up trimming that down because it's going to be too thick, too wide. So I'm going to trim it. It's a 1/4 right now, so I'm going to take off 1/8. And then we'll take 1/8 off of this one as well. So instead of 8 1/2, we would do 1/8 inch smaller. So 8 1/2, 8 1/8. No, 8 1/4. No. Oh, I don't know. We would do 8 1/4 instead of 8 1/2 because this is a 1/4 inch. And then I'm burnishing on the side that does not have everything trimmed out, right? And I'm going to go ahead and put some tear and tape on here. Because the tear and tape will be just the right width. And I've shown this before where I just put the roll of tear and tape into my fingers so that I can steer it. Because for me it works. And usually I just rip it, but I'm going to use my scissors today. It's really sticky. So Fifi, do you have this suite of products or part of them? You said you were excited to see it. Did you catch the live where I made a bunch? I think I did it a couple of nights in a row because I did the One Sheet Wonder sample that's in the mini catalog. So let's go ahead and put these on. And I'm going to use glue. Yes, they're gorgeous. And this is the Gather paper, and I did not get that bundle, I don't think. Although I do have a delivery coming, I think on Friday. I should look at that order and see if I did get that set. Because I do like all the things that are fall, but fall is, I mean, we have such short seasons, you know? Oh, that's too wide. Okay, I'm going to let that set. So this is 4, so I should have done 3 3/4 by 5. Guess we got to fix that. So 3 3/4 by, no, 5 1/4. take off a 1/4 inch. We have a 3 3/4 by 5. Let me go get that other piece and see if that'll work. Three and 3/4 by 5. Are you home yet, Juju? How long of a commute do you have to get back and forth to work? And do you normally get to work at home or do you have to go in? Because you said you do IT stuff. Just making sure I have all my stuff out of here so I can get this die out of the way. All right. I have to figure out what sheet this one goes on. I think that goes here. These do not want to cooperate today. There we go. So 22 minutes. That's not too bad. My commute to the college, depending on traffic control signals, was anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes, which was really nice. When I worked for the court system, which is what I had for, 23 years, that was about a half-hour commute for me. Longer, if there were some traffic hangups. Oops. All right, so now I think we can do some glue here. And that other piece, I'm just going to let the glue kind of get tacky there. And if I heat it up, I should be able to use it on another project. I think that'll work. This bottle of glue is almost empty. So last night, Sala said I was giving it some tough love because I would bang it on the table to get the glue to go toward the nozzle. And luckily, this paper is not directional. You can put it any way you want, and it'll be fine. All right, so let's see how this works. One never knows when you're just winging it. Oh, and some time ago, I lost one of my embossing buddies. I found it. Today, while I was cleaning, I found it. That was kind of exciting. All right. So normally, when I have pieces like this, I will try to lay it as flat as I can and then just bring the piece down onto it because that's the easiest way I know. So there's our little box. So I want to make a lid. So if I do my lid, And this is 4. So I have to have 4 by 4 plus an inch plus an inch. So if we do an inch, 4, and an inch, so that means 6 by 6. And I'm going to make it 6 and a smidge by 6 and a smidge, because that will hopefully allow for it to fit over the top without making it buckle. All right, so there's 6 and a smidge. So if I score these now at an inch, all the way around, we'll see if this works how I want it to for the top. Because if it worked, this should be just slightly bigger than 4 inches, and it is. So it's 4 and maybe like a 32nd, and 4 and about a, not quite a 16th. So it's pretty close. Oh, hello, Lori. Welcome. I love it that your name is spelled the right way. So now I have to decide how I want to do this. Sometimes what I do is I fold in the corners, like when I'm making a bag, because it gives them a nice edge. But I think I'm just going to do a conventional box top here. And I'm just going to cut it so that I'm cutting off the score line. And then I'll miter on the flap just on the inside. And then I'm going to just kind of dry fit it and see how it looks. Because if I put that on the inside, I want these edges to be flush. I don't want it to tip in. So I'll be able to do it this way flush and that way flush. So I am not going to miter them. This one, it looks like I might need to trim just a little bit, but I'll worry about that in a minute. So Lori, tell me again where you're from. I may have written it down somewhere, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Colorado? We had somebody from Colorado recently. Aurora, Illinois. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to do some glue. Oh, I was right the first time when I said Colorado. Whew! Yay me, right? All right, so we're just going to a little more tough love on this glue bottle, I guess. And even though I keep my glue bottles bottoms up when I store them, the glue still, when you get down to the very end, likes to cling and not go down. So I'm just making sure I've got these corners flush. Yeah, a few years ago, we met up with siblings and spouses and did a Yellowstone trip. So we went the furthest, but we all met up in Colorado because some were coming from Arizona, some were coming from Illinois. Two couples were coming from Wisconsin. We had such a good vacation. We actually at the airport there rented a big van for all of us, and somebody walked up and said, "Oh, is this the retirement group van?" No. We laughed about that the whole trip. They thought we were the tour bus. All right, so again, I want to try to make sure these corners are flush. Yeah, it was beautiful, definitely beautiful. All right, so I don't think I'm going to bother trimming any of those corners because or any of the edges, because I think they're good. They're good enough. So now let's go ahead and see if this fits. So there's just a little bit of buckle, not much. But it's too big to go inside, so I think it'll be good. So this is going to go here. And then I'm going to make another piece to go inside the bottom. All right, so I'm going to do that in Old Olive. And let's just see if I have a piece that's not scored. I don't. They're all scored. So I'm going to cut this. Let me just do some math here. So if we've got 4 inches, I guess I'll do 6 again. The 2 sides I'm going to, I think, cut off because I don't want to disrupt this design. Okay. So I'm going to do 6 by just under 4. So let's do this at 6. I have to think if I'm doing this right. 6, yeah. And then we're going to do 4 wide plus 1/4 and 1/4. We're going to go 4.5, I think. Let's see if this works. All right, so then I'm going to score this way. Let me think. I'm going to go here. So we're going to score this side at 1/4. And I'm actually going to go just a smidge under 4.5. Oops. All right, so let's do this at 1/4. This at 1/4. I turned it all the way around. And then if we do the long here at 1 inch and at 1 inch. Let's see if we've got, so that's 4. That'll be a snug 4. And that'll be just under 4. So what I want to do is I'm going to trim out these little, maybe I should leave them in there for now. Let's get rid of this. So in my head, I'm making a bottom to the box. I'm going to leave these here, my little 1/4 inch pieces to hug the sides. I'm going to cut off these. One of them I can attach in here, and then the other one I can tuck. but I don't think I need these tabs either way. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all the tabs off. Sorry you get to hear me think out loud. So let's go ahead and burnish. I'm throwing scraps everywhere. So this is obviously not going to be a greeting card that can go in an envelope anywhere. So let's just see if this fits in here how I wanted it to. And it pretty much does. How do you like that? So what I thought I would do though is put a hole in the bottom with a die, with a circle die. So let's just do, let me find my stylish shapes. Do I have stylish shapes? Maybe they're not even, maybe the stylish shapes aren't. Oh, here we go. Yeah, stylish shapes. Since I moved all my things, I have to kind of remember where everything goes. All right, so we need just not a big opening. But some of these candles might be bigger than what I have. So I'm just going to go ahead and tape this on here, kind of in the middle. So I think what I'll do is use my ruler and find a center point by just going corner to corner both ways diagonally. Just corner to corner, really light. And then I can eyeball this to be center-ish. Okay. And then we'll just put a little washi, and we'll get that Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine out again. Well, if I don't put an opening in it, in my mind, I have to open up the bottom to put the candle in there. And by the time I get the bottom set again, then the candle's dumped around in there. So I figured this way, if I have the bottom in there, I can set it on top of the candle and the candle won't fall over. It won't tip over, and I won't, because there's really not a place for me to adjust it coming from the side. So that's my thought process. Does that make sense? Or am I overthinking it? I just figured it would be easier. Is the lid glued on? No, but it's kind of, well, I suppose that would have worked, huh? So I was overthinking it. I wouldn't need a hole in the bottom, would I? Too late now. But if I put decorations on the top of the lid, which is kind of what I was thinking, it might disrupt some of my decorations. I don't know. We'll see. You decide if you want a hole in the bottom of your base. I suppose we would not have needed. You have a good point. A very good point. So I'm going to go ahead and put some tear and tape on one side of this. Because I want this to stay in there. And maybe I'll just do the whole thing here. course, if I don't put tear and tape on one side, then to store it flat, the base would lay flat. We'll just do it on one side. See, this is what happens when I don't think things through and I just kind of wing it. So yeah, lifting off the lid would certainly have been a very good option. But I'm already committed now, so it is what it is. When you recreate this, decide if you want a hole in the bottom of your item or not. How do I want to do this? I think we'll do it like this. Sometimes the struggle is real, you know? So I want that tucked all the way in here. Thank you for popping in, Lori. And I'm going to just miter these a little bit because that first side doesn't want to lay flat because I didn't get it glued quite where I needed it to be. All right, tuck these in, tuck this in. Maybe not do a hole in the bottom. Be brave. So I figure this way I'm not going to ruin it either. All right. So there's our cute little lantern. And you can't see it here. Let me kind of go like this. So I could put like maybe vellum in here, but I think this needs a new battery. I could get a bigger light to go in there, but I think if we turn all the lights off, that'll be kind of cute. Kind of cute. All right, so there's that. Now let's see about doing a little bit of decoration on here. I thought about, let me just turn that off again. I thought about, that's nice and substantial. When you put the base in there, it makes it nice and tight. All right. So I thought about putting trees on the sides, but the trees might actually be too big. So the tree is going to be too big. The lid will cover it. Maybe I should just leave it without the tree and just put stuff on the top. What do you think? I'm thinking maybe we'll bypass the tree for this one. I can save those. But here's what I did with this piece with my third one. I put wax paper as part of the layers. And let's just see how these roll out. Oh, and here's my take your pick tool with the brush on it. It was in here. So these little pieces still might not want to come out of here. These leafy pieces have a lot of little void spots. And I didn't really want to take all of the time to poke them out. So you can see they've got like all kinds of them. And that's just going to take a lot of time, which I'm not going to do right now because I'm not going to use this anyway. But if we might be able to brush some of them out, but they're pretty little. I think I'm going to have to use a pokey tool. But if your dies, if your cardstock sticks inside your die when they're really intricate like this, I have found that using that layer of wax paper is really a godsend. It works really well. Sometimes if you're doing like a stitched square or a stitched circle, it can be a little challenging to get the wax paper off, but it gives a really cool look. All right, so I will save that for another project. Let me get this out of the way. And then let's just see what we want to do for the top. We could actually create a layer for the top, and I could cut off the edge. We could do that. We could, oh, I have to think of where I put it. I have the kit that is the garland, the autumn garland. That has some really cool acorns in it. I have to see where I might have set that. Road to Christmas, it's not that one. It's pretty heavy. Of course, I can't find it when I want it. I'll find it about 10 minutes after I stop my live. Maybe it's this one here. No. All right, well, I'm not going to be able to find it right now. That's going to bug me though. I don't know what I did with it. So let's, what color do you think we should do that in? Should I do tone on tone with the early espresso, do you think? And then what we could do is, I wonder, oh, and we could do the autumn wishes. We could make a little tag. And then we could die cut it out. Cajun Craze. Girl after my own heart. I think Sally was making fun of me the other day when I was doing Cajun Craze every day. So I have Cajun Craze right here. All right, let's do it. I'm gonna move these. Yeah, I love that Autumn Wishes one too. It's really, I think it's really, really pretty. Now I have to try to rearrange things so that my recycle bin can be closer to my workspace. And I have a space in mind for it. So I think it'll work. But it's going to take me moving some other things around. But my studio is really in need of a deep clean. Definitely a deep clean. All right, so now I'm going to go like this so we can lead with the corner. It'll make it a little bit easier for me. And we don't need to keep that border. I'm going to be cutting it off anyway, so I don't really care if it's centered. I have found that when my plates are starting to get pretty raggedy, the little bits stick quite a bit. Okay. One more run with this. We'll get a bunch of them out. Most of them. Couple little stubborn ones. All right, that looks good. And then just punch these other little ones out. Sometimes I can roll them through this way too, but sometimes it's just easier to do it by hand. Yeah, I call them season 2, and I don't change my plates very often. And I've mentioned it before. Excuse me. When I do change my plates, I'm changing just one plate at a time because I use the same bottom plate all the time. I have one that, excuse me, that I repeatedly use as my top plate, and because the cutting edges are not damaging that top plate, then when the bottom plate just gets to where I can't stand it anymore, um, which takes a very long time, um, then I just move the top plate to the bottom plate and replace a new top plate. So I'm good for quite a long time actually. And the other machine that I have set up on the other side of my studio space here, that bottom plate is actually really flat. So, like I said earlier, I don't know why this one warped because I'm not really in the habit of, flipping them over or any of that. Mm, I don't think I would be repulsed by it. I do find that it makes a difference when I'm using like the metallic papers because it can add texture that I might not really want to show through on my paper sometimes. All right, I think we've got them all. So now we're just going to cut this piece down so that it can sit up on there. I could always make like a little frame for it though that sits on top too, and that would keep all of the edges flat. So if we're doing, oops, I guess I should go this way. So if we do 3 3/4 square, just thinking out loud. And maybe I'll do that in early espresso, just as the border. Just to frame it out. Okay, and then if I do, if we'll just put like a 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 framing. So if I go up here to 3/8, and then down here I've got 3/8 will be about here. Whoops. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3/8. I don't think I cut that quite right. It's kind of hard when I can't put my head right over the top. Hopefully my head's not getting in the frame here. 1, 2, 3/8. I could try to find some dies that would give me the frame size that I want, but I think this is fine. You'll get the idea. I think this one has to be cut a little narrower. That's pretty good. That one's a little wide too, but yeah, the old olive might look good too. So if that goes there, and then we'll just cut this down to just under 3 3/4. Now, I am just going to put a little piece on top of here because of this design. I know that if I try to cut it straight off, I'm going to have jagged edges. So we're going to do just under 3 3/4. That'll work. We'll sacrifice just a little bit of the old olive. All right, and then there is another stamp set. Here we can do dies, I mean. We can do some different colors with these. We can bring out our little embossing machine for that one. So we can do some old olive. Let's just cut a few of these. Some old olive. The early espresso. If I want to do these, that'll work. We can do those on there. We can do the little acorn guys on here. And then we should have some crushed curry in here because that's in that designer series paper. Just looking for a scrappy piece of that. All right, I think I'm just not going to use those. And let's bring in our little machine. Just start making some embellishments. Yeah, I love anytime you've got some like foliage pieces, the little acorns I think are adorable. So you can see like here I even marked top plate so that when I have my classes, if I let people use the machine, then all they have to do is read, and hopefully they will use the right plates. All right, let me put that back on there so I don't lose that one. That one doesn't want to pop out. Sometimes I can just slam them down and they come out really nice. All right, so there's a few of those. Let's do a couple of acorns. I wish they would have given us 2 of the acorn pieces too. Because I think I'm going to want 2 of those. Oh, did you open it up, Fifi? Did you look at it? I didn't open up any of my pieces yet, but I think I'm going to do samples of the cards before World Card Making Day, just so that I have them ready. Oh yeah, you were talking about that yesterday, that you're going to cut some kits and do some other things. Yeah, some of my gals may not actually be able to make it on the 4th, so I may do just a watch party later. I did that with the virtual album, the month by month virtual album. All right, what else did we have? We have this. And then I'm going to cut a label piece. And I think with all of these little embellishments, maybe we should just put them on the label and use that Autumn Wishes stamp. With all of these little pieces here, we may not even need this stamp. Although I think that would be a nice backdrop for the sentiment. So should I do this label? This label is really big, but if I have it hanging off as a tag, that one's pretty big. Hello, Sala. Juju was here. I'm not sure if we lost her. She had a long day, so she might have decided to take a nap. She was driving, so she should have long since gotten home. Oops. We are just making some little embellishments for a box we made that will hold a candle. So there's what we did. I could have probably put that cutout on all 4 sides. That would have been pretty too, but it was just more work than what I really wanted to put in today. And there was measuring because I had not planned ahead. So I had to think a little bit. All right, so let's get this out of the way for now. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. I need a better candle. So I did a hole on the bottom so I could just set it on top. But of course, Fifi said, well, the lid comes off. You could just put the candle in that way. It's like, yeah, I could have. But I use the excuse that we're going to have nice things on the top of here and I didn't want to ruin them. So by taking the lid on and off. All right. So that's my story and I'm sticking with it. So yes, public mathing. I'm trying to decide if one of these, this is my backside. And I'm still doing some tough love on my glue sala. So we used the oak foliage die for this piece here. However it goes. Who knows? Whatever side we cut off, it doesn't matter. And we just cut it down. And I think I'm going to go like this so I don't get glue all over my glass mat. And then we'll just put a little bit of glue all over this too. And some key points here where there's some bigger spaces. And then around the edges. That might have been pretty to put up on dimensionals, but it's kind of fragile. So, you know, I wouldn't want those leaves to get ruined. So we're just going to do it flat. Could also put another piece of cardstock on the bottom. It would make it sturdier. And it would look like you just made a place mark for the candle. Yes. So I'll show you what I did with the bottom because it is actually pretty sturdy. So we made the bottom so that it actually folds. So that way, if we take the top off, whoever gets it could fold it flat for storage. Flat-ish, because the lid won't go flat. But when we put this in with just the little edges here, it really firmed up the bottom of the box there. And then we can, I could still put another layer in there, but so that's kind of how it looks there, Sala. We turned off the lights too. I don't know if that made a big difference, but I thought it was kind of pretty. My candle, my little tea light here needs a better battery. I think it's probably about 5 years old. So, all right. So there's that. We'll put that back on there so we don't lose it. And then let's just go ahead and stamp this. Oh yeah, there's definitely a way to cover it. You're right. That would be fine. And actually, you know, I use the Stylish Shapes dies for this. I could make a couple of frames for it and build it up on the inside so that the candle doesn't shift around at all if it gets bumped. So, and then put a solid piece on the bottom. Absolutely, that would work. So I need basic beige, I think. I put all of my scraps away when I was cleaning. No, basic beige or very vanilla. I'll bring over both. I think with this DSP, It might be basic beige. Yep, basic beige. So I think that's actually the white background, so maybe I should do a white tag. So many decisions. And we'll do, and I brought over all of my inks for this. These are the colors that are in the paper. There's also gold in there. But we didn't actually end up stamping anything really yet. This is the first we've stamped. I'll give enough space on there that we can cut that. I don't know why. Oh, there. It doesn't want to quite line up for me. I wonder if my stamp is crooked or something. All right. Let's go ahead and washi tape this on. And we'll get the little Betsy out again. Oh, I'll have to trim it though. It's a little too wide. Oops, it moved. So much for the washi tape. That's what I get for using the narrow washi tape, I guess. Oh, and we found out some details about the joining offer that starts in October. Did you see that, Fifi? That is like the absolute best deal I've ever seen. So the joining kit is going to have a couple of options. And it's going to be even less than half price. Pretty cool. All right, so now I should probably get some alcohol blends and color this, huh? Or should I just do Autumn Wishes in white and layer them? Yeah, I didn't see anything on the demonstrator website that we couldn't disclose details. So I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this. I'm going to modify this die a little bit. Shorten it up a little bit. Let's get those out of the way. Yeah, I didn't see anything that said we couldn't share it, so I'm just giving out little snippets here. I did disclose on my banner page that there was a deal coming October 1st, so I figure if they don't say we can't share it, then we can. I think that's pretty straight. And then we're going to run this through again and move the bottom up. And hopefully it'll look okay in spite of the little border that it puts on here. I try to put this a little straighter so I can maybe eyeball it from my vantage point. I think that might be pretty close. Oh, yeah. If you're thinking about joining Juju, this is going to be an awesome deal. So I think I've mentioned some of the perks before, but you get to pick your own starter kit, which is awesome. I mean, some places they tell you what you're going to get, but you get to pick your own stuff. Usually the deal is for $99, you get $126 worth of product. You get a free paper pumpkin kit, you get free shipping, and then as long as you maintain minimum orders, they yeah, that's what I was thinking too, Fifi, because they've got all the flyers out there. Let me just pull it up here. So you get the $126 worth of product for 90. This is a regular deal for $99, free paper pumpkin, free shipping, and then if you maintain your minimums, or well, let me back up. So it goes by quarter, so every 3 months. All right. And you would then, on your subsequent orders, get a 20% discount on all your stuff. So let me just click into this. Hang on. There we go. So they're touting this as the best ever starter kit, and it really is. So you still get your $125 worth of product, and the cost is $35, which is amazing. So you get all of the resources that are available to demonstrators. You get product previews, pre-orders, so you can get stuff before other people can get it. Um, there's just all kinds of online resources. You can actually make money if you wanted to do it as a business. The free paper pumpkin. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So then there's another option. So you can either do the $125 worth of product for $35 or $165 worth of product for $48. So it's a really cool deal. Right now, you can't become a demonstrator in Finland because they don't have a market there. But they did. I mentioned the other night they did release an announcement that we're going to be able to sell in countries where we don't have a market, so that they can, I think, determine if they could get other markets in other countries, if that makes sense. So they're working on it. Okay. So if I do all of this kind of like this, ooh, Stampin' Up. It's not necessarily Stampin' Up. It might be Finland. So what if we did, well, that's going to cover up a lot of that stuff, but I think it would still be pretty. Or we could go like this and just put some of this stuff under. So let me color these. So that is just a really super joining bonus, which I have, that's the best price I've ever seen them do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm just doing my head count before I close these up. All right, so we'll put these off to the side with these. I'll wash those later. And let me go get a couple of my alcohol blends. And we'll do some coloring. And let's see, Kitchen Craze. I think that's all we can do. But there's just I mean, that is just such a good deal. So let's see what's in the flyer. Oh, and there's another one too. Is that right? Yeah. $189 worth of product for $99. So, oh, I was looking at the Canadian one. So $125 worth of product for $35 or $189 worth of product for $99. So either way, that's just really awesome. Awesome offer. All right. Yep, you beat me to it, Fifi. It's odd how difficult it is to find information directly on their webpage about the matter, like they have countries listed in the company story. But it would be helpful if they would just, yeah, they gave us a list of there's US, there's Canada, there's Australia. They recently brought on Belgium. They had Japan until what, about a year and a half ago, Fifi? I want to use the dark one for this. I'm just going to put some of these highlight lines on here. But a lot of times it's, the countries restrict what kind of businesses they allow in. They've got the UK. Trying to think what other markets there are. There's a South Pacific, North America. And then I'm pretty sure it's Belgium. Oh, France. Germany, because we have stuff in German. Yeah. I think I'm gonna do a little bit of light on here, and I'm gonna blend. Oops, I went outside the lines. I was not paying attention. Now I'll have to go get my color lifter. I was distracted with the join offer. And then if you join, you get me too. Woohoo. All right. Just blend in some of those Cajun Craze shading on there. We'll get a little bit of dark old olive. Yeah, that's a good point, Fifi. So there are quarterly minimums to maintain your discount. You don't have to run it as a business. You can, I kind of have my gals with a few nicknames. They can be discount divas, where they just basically stay on my team so that they can get their discount. I have community coaches. I have a couple of gals that do like to have some classes with some of their friends where they basically just kind of craft together. Um, or you can be a business builder if you really want it to be. And I'm going to go get my color lifter so I can push a couple of these spots where I went out of the lines. Oh, and I guess I need to put some light in there. I'm going to go get a light gray too, though. I like to mix that with, oh, this will work too. Some of these other shades. So this is wild wheat. Yeah, we call them kidnappers. So if they just want to join to get whatever the deal is at the time, that's what I actually thought I was going to do, is just join for whatever bonus. I don't even remember what the bonus was at the time. But I ended up staying. So I've been a demonstrator since 2017. So this is an ivory. And then I used an old color, which is wild wheat. Is the ivory blend still available? I'm not even sure. But you can see they keep their color, their moisture level. Let's just see if this is the light pecan pie. I'm going to get I was going to grab a gray and I forgot. And I wanted crumb cake actually. Crumb cake and light gray here. So I've got light smoky slate. And then we'll go back to the pecan pie. Because I put crumb cake in there. We'll just add a little. That's going to be kind of dark. There. And let's just take a little bit more of this ivory and blend it up. Aren't those pretty? And I'm not even an artist. So with these couple of spots where I went out of the lines, I've got my color lifter, which to me, I've said before, is actually to me, it's a color pusher. Because all it's going to do is push, the alcohol that's in here is just going to push the color away from where you put it down. So it doesn't really lift it off, it just pushes it away. All right. So let's do, I think I want to do a little blending here. So you joined twice, Fifi? Yeah, that's nice when you can kind of pick up where somebody left off. I know my upline has had one of her gals that um, kind of steals customers, which I think is really kind of rude. So she steals customers and then tries to get them to join her team. That just seems like dirty pool to me. All right, so that's a little bit of Cajun craze. Crushed curry, sorry. Yes, it is rude. All right, and then I think I want to try some of the Cajun craze to add a little bit more color here. I'll spend more time doing embellishments on here than what it took us to make the box, right? I think I need to rinse out my brush for the Cajun craze because it's not doing it. I think I'm blocking my light here. It's not doing it as smooth as I would like right there. So something's going to have to go up there and I'm going to have to rinse that out. All right, so we could, let's bring this over into the middle so we can start kind of playing with this. We could do autumn wishes there and just cover up my little spoof with the ink, or we could put some, that would cover it up almost. This would cover it up for sure. All right, so let's start with that one. Yeah, that is a situation where you just have to kind of be respectful of their business, what they've built, and make sure there's not going to be any hard feelings. All right. All right, so that can go there. Then I like how you put that poaching is pretty low. I don't think that's nice at all. And we may not need all of the embellishments that I made. So what do you think about that leafage behind there? And then we could probably put some of this. And I think by and far, if that's the term, demonstrators are very supportive. By and large, maybe it's by and large. These little acorns, they're awesome. Or these acorns. So maybe we should put some more acorns on there. I think that might be, I don't know. I don't know that I like that with the second one. little more of the crushed curry, or maybe those behind leaves. So this is the crushed curry. This is the Cajun craze. So I made one of these. So if I put that there, I could put this on here. Something like that, do you think? And then I could find those streaked dots. They're somewhere. But I could put some streaked dots on here too. So instead of the old olive leaves, so instead of these, all right, so take that off, which is fine because we've got the old olive there. And then now it wouldn't be quite so busy. I could put another piece of acorns maybe up here. You wouldn't see them a whole lot, but I think it would be subtle, a nice subtlety. Maybe put this, tuck that behind so we can't actually see the stems. What's that? And then we just won't use the old olive because we've got that. Yeah? Okay. So let me, there's a little glue on there. I'm going to put some seal on this. Put the tiny curry on top or tucked under. So ish, something like that ish. Maybe tuck this one up in here. Okay. So what I want to try to do is lay these on the tiny leaf. Is that okay there? I think so. It's gonna kind of have to be at this point. Let's move, whoops. Because I put seal all on the back of there. So we'll put that there, that there. Let that come over to the front. And then add a little bit more acorn action up there. I think that's kind of a fun cluster. And then we'll just add some dimensionals. I moved my stuff, so I gotta get used to where it is now. Or just put it back where it was. And then even though I have seal on here, that's just basically to kind of hold those elements on there. My dimensionals will hold them on even more. Okay, and then I think I'll do, that one doesn't belong there, on the back of my card. I think I'll do a couple of minis. Just over on these leaves to support them. And then let's see if this will fit here, or if I have to cut it. I probably could have used a black one on there and it wouldn't show at all. It's very sticky. Let me grab a black one instead. I think that'll work better. I don't have to cut them. I'm good with that. Stampin' Up! Should have thought about this when they made these. All right. Get all these backings off. Almost have them all. It's crazy how just doing the decorations takes longer than making that whole little lantern. All right, so I want this to be, here's going to be like the front, or this could be the front, but I want that cutout to show. And I still want to be able to see some of this cutout. So I think we'll just kind of go like so. Maybe like so. Or maybe in the middle. They'll get the idea. Maybe the middle is best. We may have lost Juju. There. All right. After much ado, there's our little lantern. Do a cut in the bottom or not. It's up to you. But there's our little, I think if I did another one, I might, and even now still I could, put some vellum inside. Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell the vellum anymore. I wish they would. And I do still have some. Let's just see if I did vellum on the inside. So I think that would kind of finish it off a little bit. That would be pretty, don't you think? And then if I have a brighter candle, it would show up better. But it would still show, I think. It'll still show, just not as bright as what I had hoped. But if I get one that's got a stronger battery, yeah, it would be a little challenging to do now for sure. But it could be done. You know, just pop a couple little drops of glue there. And then a little bit of glue on each end of your vellum. It could be done. The vellum would have to be the right size, though. That's a little short. Yeah, different color vellum would be pretty too. That would really enhance it. All right. So there's our little box, our little lantern. And that's all I have for tonight. Thanks for playing along. Thanks for being patient with me since I didn't know what I was going to do. But if I did the vellum, I would try to put it on, obviously, before we put it together. But I think, where'd my little candle go? Oh, silly me. Thank you so much, Sala. So I think it would show. I just need something that's got a stronger battery. Like I said, this one's got to be like 5 years old. So, all right. That's all I have, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you want to join me, join my team, join me. I would love that too. Now I just have to find my YouTube here. All right. And I do think this was a fun project, even though I wasn't fully prepared, even though I had no idea what we were going to create. It's always an adventure. All right, so until next time, thank you for all the hearts. I appreciate it. For those of you coming on late, I can see a couple of people have popped on here. We just finished this fun little lantern. Go back and watch the replay. All right. Until next time, probably in what, 22 hours-ish, 21, 22 hours. Happy crafting. Good night, Salad. Good night, Fifi. Good night, Juju, if you're still around. See you next time.